Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a new video. So I like making videos about the car, doing modifications, reviews and all that, but sometimes I get asked a specific question multiple times, and I constantly am always answering DMs and questions and all that. And sometimes the questions warrant a full video. So that is what I want to do in this video. I want to answer a question that I get asked very often to help people in their journey and kind of give them some answers as to why I chose an M3, an F80 M3 more specifically, over all the other cars out there. So just to give some context and a little bit of background, the prior car that I had was a 2017 Subaru STI. I kind of documented that entire car on the channel, walked you through my ownership over the last 6 years with that car, enjoyed it immensely, and then I was ready to move on to the next car, and there was quite a few options that I was considering. So what I want to do is go over those few cars, also the reasons why I was considering, and then ultimately why I did not pick them. And at the end of the video, we're going to go over as to why I ended up choosing the F80, and then maybe what the future holds after this car. So the first car that I was considering after the STI was a Porsche. A Porsche is one of those cars that just does it for me. I am a huge Porsche fanatic. It's one of those cars I think a lot of enthusiasts always kind of lust for and always want. So a 911 of some sort was on my radar. First of which was a 997.1 Carrera S. 997.1 Carrera S's are one of those cars that I personally love. I love the styling of them. I love that generation of the 911. It embodies exactly what a 911 is. It's just raw, naturally aspirated. I love the styling of those cars. It's one of the first generations that really caught my attention back in the day when I was a kid. When that generation was relevant and current, the GT3s really kind of tugged on my heartstrings and really made me realize how amazing of a car those were. Now, believe it or not, this is very unlike me. I was actually bidding on a 997.1 Carrera S with the factory aero package manual. It was beautiful, and I was actually bidding against a dealer. So we kept on going at it back and forth. It was between me and the dealer, and ultimately I realized that going through a bidding site, I personally wasn't going to win that one because the dealer kind of had an unlimited budget. Then I started factoring in all the auction taxes and prices and everything you needed to pay. And ultimately, it just would have put me way over budget, so I ended up backing out of it. But it was beautiful. It was white, amazing condition. It was very low mileage and low owner. So I ended up obviously not getting that one. But my main spec and goal that I was looking for was a Guards Red 997.1 with the factory aero package and manual. That was the car that I was looking for. I found quite a few, but ultimately at the end of the day, I just couldn't find the right one for the right price. They were asking too much. I just didn't feel at the time the market for the 997.1s, what they were asking for them, which was around 75 to 80 with the factory aero package, was worth that type of experience. Great cars, but it's not worth that type of money. Those cars 4 or 5 years ago were in the 50 range, so seeing them almost doubled in a few years was pretty crazy. So I ultimately kind of backed out of that car, even though I loved it. I decided to look at something else. So another generation I was looking at for a 911 was the 991.1 Carrera S. Amazing car. It was the last of its kind. It was the last NA 911 Carrera that they made, because the 991.2 they went over to a turbo. So it was definitely a car I was interested in. I started looking through quite a few different options, and ultimately I just couldn't find the spec, the mileage, the low owner spec and option car that I wanted. I ended up taking it off. Great car, but it just didn't do it for me at the time. Again, the market was crazy on those cars, for any P car for that matter. So I ended up taking it off the list. Now, another car that I was considering, it's still a Porsche. I actually never mentioned this to you guys, but I actually had a deposit on a 981 GT4. It was actually through a private sale. I came across it, I believe, on Renlist. Really great option. It was a beautiful spec. It had the bucket seats, actually had a full Dundon exhaust, and I reached out to the owner, put a deposit on it, and I was super excited about it because I was going to get a GT4. Ultimately, it did not end up working out, obviously, because the seller was out in Texas, and they were looking for a quick sale. And with quick sale, I mean the next day. They were actually leaving for an extended period of time, and they wanted the car sold by the weekend. And I believe it was Thursday at the time, and I just wouldn't be able to get everything together and get down to Texas in a day or two. So ultimately, it just didn't end up working out, and the seller was super kind. Obviously, he refunded my deposit, and I had to move on. But after that, I looked for a few different 981 GT4s, came across a few, but there was nothing like that one that I originally put my deposit on. So I kind of lost interest in it, and I realized that as much as I would love a GT4, it wasn't a 911. And if I got a GT4, any type of Cayman for that matter, I would have that 911 envy. So after all the different options and months of looking at Porsches and trying to figure out which option and spec and generation I wanted, I just realized it wasn't the right time to get one. And knowing me, a GT3 is where I want to be at in life. And if I got anything less than GT3, it would be a very, very short ownership. It would be a car that I would enjoy for maybe a year or so, maybe less. And then it would make me realize, okay, I really want a GT3. I'm going to sell this and move on up. So I ended up putting the Porsche, taking it off the block and looking at a few other cars before I ultimately landed on the F80. Now, I also briefly looked at some E9X M3s. I'm a huge fan of the E90. I love the sedan M3s. I think they're amazing, look super aggressive. I love the rear of those cars. Love the S65 and the V8s. I was looking at a few of them, but I couldn't find the right spec. And at that time as well, the market was crazy on those. I wanted something real low mileage, a really nice spec, and I just couldn't find it. Everyone that I came across had a ton of miles. It was abused and just wasn't up to my standards. And I just feel like I kind of missed the boat on those cars. Yes, there's a few of them out there that are up to my standards, but they're crazy amounts of money, and I wasn't ready to spend $60, $70, $80,000 on an E9X, despite it sounding amazing and being one of the best M cars ever. I just didn't feel like it was worth the money. Just kind of the same thing like the 997s as well. I just didn't feel like it was worth the money at the time at the market. So I ended up taking it off the list. Great car, and to be honest, I would still love to have one. If I can find one, I would love to add it to the stable. But I just didn't think it was the right time to get one of those. Now, another car I was looking at is something that I still do enjoy and still do like. You actually saw me test drive one of these for the first time on the channel, and that is the FL5 Type R. Fantastic, fantastic car. For the money, I do not think you can get a better car for, what are they, 45-ish? They're 40 now or so. I don't think you can get a better car for that value. Super, super awesome handling, very, very nimble. I always called it like a baby Porsche. Yes, it doesn't have the power and the build quality like a Porsche, but it really is a great driver's car. I think they look phenomenal. I love it over the FK8. The FK8 was too overstyled for me, but the FL5 is right up my alley. Super wide, looks super great. Obviously has 4 doors, so you can, cart around the family and friends and all that. Has some great technology, a lot of great options and everything, great colors. I just think it's a great, great car. So it's definitely something I was considering, but I realized I didn't want to go kind of and make a lateral move from the STI. Yes, I know the Type R was, is different in terms of the drivetrain, but 4-cylinder turbo. The STI is a 4-cylinder turbo. I really wanted to take that next step up, and I really wanted to get into a German car. So I ended up taking it off the list, and as much as I love that car, I think it would be a great daily driver. I just didn't think it would fit the bill for the fun car in the garage, so I ended up not getting one, obviously. Although I still think it's a great car, so if you guys are looking for something, 50 grand or under, that's probably one of the best driving cars for that price range. I don't think you can go wrong with a Type R. Now, the last car that I was considering as well is the Ford Shelby GT350. Amazing, amazing car. The motor is incredible, sounds insane. I think it's one of the best cars that has come out of Ford in a very, very long time. I have grown very fond of Ford over the years since, purchasing my F-150 and realizing how great of a car that is. Sounds incredible. I actually test drove a few of them. I really liked it, but it just, for some reason, didn't do it for me. The interior felt very Ford. I know it's kind of weird to say, obviously, because it is a Ford, but it just didn't do it for me. I just felt like it was a car that I would enjoy for a very short while and then end up selling. It did feel very, very big coming from the STI. It also felt, kind of floaty on the turns and everything. So it just, I don't know, I really wanted something that would handle well and just be really fun on the back roads and all that. I don't like bigger cars. I like something that's nimble and small. When I got into the GT350, it just didn't feel special enough to me. It just didn't feel like it was the car to replace the STI. Fantastic car, as I mentioned, but I just didn't think it was going to fit the bill at the time. So that is pretty much everything I was considering. I did consider a Cayman S or Cayman GTS as well for a very short while, but it kind of goes back to me having that 911 envy. I really wanted to get into a GT3. So if it was going to be a Porsche, it was going to be a GT3. And any other variants under a GT3, I know, call me a snob, call me what you want. I just didn't think it was going to be worth it. Yes, there's some fantastic options and models and trims other than a GT3 in the Porsche world. But for me, I know myself better than anyone else, and I know if I got anything other than a GT3, I would have some serious envy and I would want to sell it super quick and get myself into a GT3. So that is what ultimately landed me on the F80. The F80 is a stepping stone. It was a car that I knew I always wanted. As soon as they debuted in 2014, when they first showed them, I was in love. I love the styling of them. I love that it's 4 doors. I love the power of them. I love that they're turbo. I love the aftermarket support is insane. I love that they still offered it in manual. And personally, I think it is the best looking car, sports sedan, that has ever come out for any manufacturer ever. You guys know how much I love this car, but it was one of those things that just checked all the boxes for me. And now that I have owned it for the last year and a half, it has far surpassed any of my expectations. It has been a phenomenal car. Obviously, you guys have seen the journey with it, me modifying it, enjoying it, driving it. And it's honestly really exceeding my expectations. I really enjoy this car. I truly think for the money, I don't think you can get a better car. For $65,000 or less, I truly don't think you can get a better car. I mean, you're getting a full purebred M sports car. You can get it in manual. The aftermarket support is huge. And this thing looks absolutely incredible. You can do it all in this car. You can be a daily driver. It can be a track car. It can be a show car. Whatever you want it to be, it can do it. This thing is mentally fast. It looks fantastic. And I just think it's one of the best cars on the market. And then that is what ultimately led me to pick up an F80 M3. So I figured that would be helpful for some of you guys going over the few other cars that I was considering. The F80 M3, the price range of these cars, there's a lot of different options out there. So I wanted to at least go over them with you, talk about them, let you guys know what I was considering as well, because I know a lot of you may be in the same situation. So if you are in this situation looking for a car like this in the 50 to 70K price range and you want something that can do it all, I do not think you could go wrong with an F80 M3. All the other cars that I did mention, 100% amazing cars, but you just need to kind of prioritize what's more important to you. Do you need the 4 doors? Do you want something that can handle it all? Do you need all-wheel drive? Would you prefer rear-wheel drive? That kind of stuff. I don't think you can go wrong with any of those choices, but at the end of the day, the F80 M3 for me just checked all those boxes, and again, after owning it for the last year and a half, it is completely exceeding my expectations. Now, I did mention that I would talk about what's next and what's to come after the F80 M3. I kind of briefly discussed it earlier in the video when we were talking about Porsches. And if you guys follow me on Instagram and pretty much anywhere else, you guys know that I am a huge GT3 nut. I had some experience in GT3 recently. And it is completely overtaken my mindset. And as much as I love the F80 M3, a 911 GT3 for sure is my next car. Now, obviously, I got some work to do on the generation and the spec and everything that I want. It's going to take a lot of work. I do love the F80 M3 a ton, and I'm going to enjoy it while I have it. I'm not going to rush through it, but I am 100% certain that a GT3 of some variant is going to be the next car. It may be next week, it may be 2 years from now. I'm not 100% sure. I am working towards it. I have loosely listed this car for sale. If anybody was interested, as is, I always say to reach out because anything is for sale for the right price. So you guys know where my mindset is. We are moving to the Porsche world at some point, but for now, I'm going to enjoy the F80 to the fullest, continue to modify it. I got some awesome stuff coming for this car. I got some dream wheels coming that you guys are going to love, and I know I'm going to love. It's one of those things that I want to get on this car and experience before I end up selling it at some point. And if I never do it, I will regret it. So I might as well kind of go all out and do it at this point while I have it. So that is going to do it for this one, guys. If you have any questions or any other cars that you may be considering or have some questions on, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to discuss and talk about them there. But in the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.